consider 2 parcels of land they threw into the green belt. So they're asking for submissions from CAOs from Ontario on whether or not they should proceed with that. One of the pieces the developer put up for sale once given the right to build on it. I mean, like literally cashing in.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, we are streaming and
Yes.
we're back in open session, so.
Okay. So we're back from open session, so that brings us to item 16, appointment to advisory committees.
Yes, thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Kerr and seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that council appoint the following individuals to the Environmental and Climate Adaptation Advisory Committee. 1, Mike Jones. 2, Jackie Oblak. 3, Natalie Senuk. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of these. And 4, Michael Hosh. And council has agreed to appoint Councillor Olson to be the council representative on that committee. For discussion and vote, Mr. Chair.
So any further discussion with respect to those appointments? Seeing none, so we'll put it to the vote. All those in favor? That again is unanimous, so that is carried.
Thank you. Now moving to item 1711. I have a motion moved by Councillor Nisnek and Councillor Eckhart. Sorry, that we have Councillor Olson has a verbal report, and a presentation to make on the update of Niagara Regional Transit. So I'll turn it back to you and Councillor Olson.
Okay, so Councillor Olson, you have the floor, so.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I propose to keep this very short because it's time that we had a review of the Niagara Transit after the first 6 months. And next slide, please.
Councillor Olson, there's another screen ahead of you over
Oh,
there.
yeah. Okay. Yes, we've been talking about this for 50 years, believe it or not, since the formation of the region. And it's got 20 years of work behind it, and we've been working at it for basically 6 months. And it's been quite amazing how far we've got and how far we have to go. At this time, we've got 420 employees at this time and multiple bargaining units, and we're going through the process of bargaining for our contracts and amalgamating everything. I wanted to put another idea in your head about the cost of operating, because this is only going up. The cost of a bus right now is $1 million, a diesel bus, and it has another $250,000 worth of technology on it for tickets and cameras and that type of thing. An electric bus will cost us $1.5 million plus the $250,000. And the capital budget for vehicles over the next coming years is going to be $300 million, believe it or not. So, if we had complaints about the transit surcharge this year, I think we gotta be aware of what might be coming. Our fleet at this time is 168 buses. And the average age of the fleet is 8 years, and these are the buses you see around Welland and St. Catharines and the WeGo fleet, which we assumed as well. And the desirable age for a bus is 6 years, and the absolute retirement age is 12 years. So you can see what is coming with that $300 million budget. But I can tell you that this year our operating budget, the budget is $56 million to operate transit in Niagara region. The ridership is now at 128% of pre-pandemic levels, which is pretty much the pattern for a lot of established routes. And we're going to have a surplus of $1 million this year. So I think we've managed to do this, and I wouldn't want to say it's been all planned the way it is. I think there's been some good luck involved in things, in grants as well, But, you know, it's gratifying to see that we got $1 million. You know, we've got our first financial statements, which is tough for me to see after 6 months. We only, you know, we had no financial statements. We had no indication of how we were doing of any kind, and we got our first financial statements at the end of August, and they show a forecast for the year of $1 million. We operate in an area that was maybe a little bit different than the town of Pelham. We have 500,000 residents in the region, and we have 13 million visitors, which is an unusual thing. And it's forecasted to reach 20 million visitors a year in the next 10 years. So we have to do some planning on the routes out of Toronto Centre, the GTA, and the trains work the best. So the commission is working with GO Transit and Metrolinx, and we've acquired the St. Catherine station and the new Niagara Falls station, and we will be building the new Grimsby station if that can ever, the ownership of the properties over there can ever sort it out. So technology, we are moving towards greener buses, but we were in a position last 2 weeks ago where we could buy 6 electric buses, or we could buy 8 diesel buses, efficient diesel buses, and because the electric buses weren't online, we have now have to buy the 8 diesel buses. So we had a little bit of a setback there, but these are the high energy ones. 75% of the buses right now do not have cameras. We can't pay with your phone yet. We're getting there, and we're playing catch up with the technology all the time. But the success of the transit is going to be all in the planning. And we need to be able to deliver things where people live and not necessarily where people want to go. So we've got a long way to go as far as transit goes as a commission. Now, my goals are still having complaints about the reliability of the service, which is the next thing we have to work on, and specifically with the on-demand. And the other thing that I'm starting to be a little bit more concerned about and think about is the possibility of going back to the little bus, because I think the little bus might be something that would fit better with our organization, the town, and the way it operates. This is going to be a more demanding thing because the demand for this, because people are now outliving their driving privileges a lot, and they say that a man will outlive his driving privileges by 6 years and a woman by 8 years. So you know, because women live longer, not necessarily that they drive safer or anything like that, but just oh, sorry, did I? You know, but it's certainly something that has to be considered in an aging community like we have. This is going to be pretty important that we take care of you know, the people who are going to lose their driving privileges, and I should have lost mine a while ago, I think so. But this is where I have to think we're going. I'm certainly sure that we have to customize something better for the community of Pelham, because I'm 1 vote out of 15, but there are many of us in the smaller communities are starting to think roughly the same way, and I believe we're paying for it, so we should have it. So.
Okay, so thank you for your report. I'll turn it to council for any questions. Councillor Hildebrand.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. Appreciate your report. I like your concept of considering the little bus again, because I think that was far more effective service for our residents in Pelham than we're getting right now from the ride share program.
Yeah, it was an effective service, except it wasn't an effective service for the rural parts of the community. So I think it's got to be a combination, and it's like any other difficult problem. I think it's, you know, it's complex and it's going to have a complex solution. So I think it's it's gonna have to be, consider the little bus and the on-demand. Because the drivers in the on-demand do an excellent job. They're great people who come pick you up and things, but, you know, they can't be everywhere all the time, and I'd like to see something a little more predictable and reliable for the more built-up areas.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, thank you very much for your report, Counselor.
So, Mr. Chair, we do have a motion moved by Councillor Niznik and seconded by Councillor Eckhart. Be it resolved that Council receive the presentation from Councillor Olson regarding an update on the Niagara Regional Transit for information.
So we'll put it to the vote. All those in favor? Again, unanimous, so that's carried.
Moving now to item 17.2.1, proposed increase to public works staffing complement. I have a motion moved by Councillor Kerr and seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2023-0163, proposed increase to public works staffing complement for information, and that Council approve the establishment and hiring of one full-time roads division operator with a target goal of starting this position in January of 2024 as outlined in the report, and that Council approve the increased hours for the maintenance assistants from part-time 24 hours per week position to a full-time position working 40 hours per week starting this January 2024, and dependent upon satisfactory negotiations with CUPE Local 1287 regarding the work schedule, and that Council refer the proposed beautification arborist position to the 2025 budget deliberations, and that Council refer the proposed water, wastewater, and engineering position to the 2026 budget deliberations. To you for discussion, Mr.
So
Chair.
any comments or questions with respect to this report? Yes, Councillor Niznik.
Yes, thank you very much. So through you, Mr. Mayor, just a question to Mr. Marr with regards to the the referring the proposed water, wastewater, and engineering position all the way down to 2026. So with some of our events that we've had this summer, with the heavy rains and that sort of thing, and, you know, moving in, if we get the amount of snow based on the amount of rain we've had this year, we're in for a real whooper of a winter. So is that maybe too long to wait to hire that person? Not sure what that position would entail or be done, but I think we really need to start looking at our wastewater and our water infrastructure to make sure that it's up to snuff in terms so we avoid flooding and catastrophes in the future. So just wondering if that, in your opinion, is too long a time and maybe should go back to 2025.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So the water wastewater operator, if it's related to stormwater, it'd be a roads function. So any stormwater drainage is a roads function. So any flooding, that type of concern, that's usually handled by our roads department, although we are a small department to begin with and all hands on deck when we have emergencies that we need to tend to. So the water wastewater operator would be somebody with proper certifications and skills to operate our system for distributing clean drinking water to the town, as well as the infrastructure that collects the wastewater and transports it back to the well and treatment plant. So flooding would be more of a roads operation. Water wastewater would be to deal with the operation and maintenance and upkeep of our water distribution system and our waste collection system. With the engineering position, again, preferencing the report that was done by KPMG, they recommended all this be in place by 2025. So obviously 2025 is a more desirable outcome for our department. As Mr. Cribbs said previously, we're looking at trying to stage this in and being respectful of the asks. There's a lot of things with the engineering department. The recommendation in the KPMG report was to add 2 additional FTEs. We've added 1. Currently, there's going to be some new legislation that's coming down, and I presented this to council the last meeting with respect to the consolidated lineal infrastructure requirements and our requirements under that. We're still feeling our way through that. We don't know how we're approaching that yet, but that responsibility being downloaded on the municipality will definitely put more strain on our department and may require some additional resources. But until we have that information, report back to council, then I guess this would be our recommendation, subject to possible asks or changes in the future with respect to legislation changes.
Thank you for that, Mr. Marr. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you, so we're now sitting at, in the department, I believe it's 15 plus 2 or 1 or 2? The total number?
Through you, Mr. Mayor or Deputy Mayor, yeah, we're at 15 plus we've got 3 operators or 3 supervisors. Sorry.
Okay, and then we're expected to go to 20, and then that's the biggest. The biggest jump is the 15 to the 20, and then we don't go up until to 21 until 2041 according to the KPMG number. So, is that right?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So we've based on the KPMG report, they recommended that we increase the labor force by 5 FTEs. So it was 2 in engineering, 1 in water, wastewater, 1 in beautification, and 1 in roads. Yep. So to date, we have added the 1 engineering position. That was a year ago, maybe a little more than that. So the ask today is to make that, add that roads operator to our department. And then in subsequent years would be the additional engineering, beautification, and water, wastewater.
Okay. I think graduated development of this is a right way to go too, by the way.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll put it to the vote. So all those in favor of the report? Seeing unanimous, that's carried again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now moving to item 17.2.2, I have a motion moved by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Nisnek. Be it resolved that Council receive the report 2023-0178-2023 Sidewalk Cutting Pilot Program for information, and that Council approves retaining Safe Sidewalks Canada as the sole source contractor in the amount of $20,000 plus the applicable taxes in accordance with the town's procurement policy S402-00, and that Council approves the cost for the sidewalk cutting pilot program to be funded through the capital account for the 2023 concrete repairs and replacement program. To you for discussion.
So any comments? Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to the Public Works Director. You were very kind in saying that I was generally supportive of sole sourcing. That's really a kind statement to make about my position on sole sourcing. Let me read what I said on April the 5th. As a representative for the taxpayer, single sourcing is the last resort. I dislike the practice, especially when I find there are alternatives and no quotes or comparison pricing were obtained. So let's get to the details of the report. Tell me, did you evaluate the other alternatives that are available?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So our sidewalk, to fix trip hazards on our sidewalks, usually that operation is performed in-house. We normally don't contract that service out. And we use a method of grinding the differences in elevation between sidewalk panels to make sure that we meet the minimum maintenance standards. So there's a lot of paint marks out on the sidewalks. We do the annual inspections. We paint them in accordance with the minimum maintenance standards to identify those hazards. We haven't been able to attend to those in the last 2 years with our road staff. We aren't able to get the resources available to do that. So we'll take a contracted service to do this type of work for us. We will have to put a program out. the method, there's different methods you could use. You could use a wet saw. You could use a grinding method. This particular proposal that we received from Safe Sidewalks, they use a proprietary dry cutting system with a vacuum system on it, doesn't create dust. And so they've got a patent pending on that process. It's kind of unique, and we haven't been successful in finding anybody else that kind of does that. We wanted the idea was that we would put together a pilot program, see how it works. In the town, we've identified roughly 200 trip hazards. We think with a budget of about $20,000, we can hit 130 to 150 of those. Failing that, we would put together an RFP to have a contractor address those issues, and that could be done using different techniques that could be evaluated based on the time of the year. Most likely, we go that route. It'll be 2024 springtime before we address those issues.
Did you get a cost evaluation from these companies? I mean, basically, it comes down to the cost per lineal foot of doing the sidewalk edging. I noticed when you look around, there are companies that do perform this work, and the cost-benefit analysis, in my view, should have been provided with the report. Does this new technology come with a cost-benefit analysis?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So I don't know if I necessarily have a cost-benefit analysis. We do have costing from the company Safe Sidewalks that did provide the proposal. They charge by the inch foot, so the depth of the cut and the width of the sidewalk determines what their cost is per panel, per cut, based on an inch and a half of a trip hazard. It's roughly about $125 per cut. So that's the costing that we do have from them. Like I said, this is an operation. We haven't gone out competitive with respect to having a company come in to address trip hazards. We usually do that in-house. We don't have that cost comparison based on what our staff use to compare it to where Safe Sidewalks is. So if that answers your question, we don't have any immediate cost comparison analysis for other contractors doing that similar type of work. And the process that we're proposing here, to our best of our knowledge, is proprietary, and they're the only ones that do it.
Don't you think it'd be prudent to get a cost comparison from other competitors?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, if that's council's wish, then staff would be more than happy to undertake that and report back.
So I believe the CAO's got something to add to this.
The last council was abundantly clear that sole sourcing was only to be done in extreme circumstances or where nothing else is practicable. And this council's been quite clear on that too. So here you are, not quite a year into office. This is the second item that's been brought to you for sole sourcing. The last one was rejected. This was entirely appropriate and well within your rights. So we sit here today. We have issued 24 RFPs this calendar year. And if this sole source goes through, that'll be 1 out of 25. So for 4% sole sourcing relative to, so the norm, what I can say to this council is that there's a very different culture in the administration that the senior staff have been working at, and a dramatically different approach to, and I think appreciation for and absorption of the importance of not sole sourcing where possible. In this instance, and the reason why I've endorsed the report and why it's on your agenda as it is that firstly, we're not asking for money. We're using what the remainder of the overage, whatever word you like, 20,000 out of the concrete budget. Secondly, I'd encourage any of you to direct a question to the town solicitor about why not we, like this lets it get done, and it hasn't been done in 2 years. And then thirdly, it's a proprietary technology that we'd like to see. I appreciate that in the normal, if this was a $2 million contract, we wouldn't be here talking about sole sourcing. I give credit to Mr. Marr wouldn't write the report. I wouldn't approve it. It wouldn't be in front of you. We would never even try. It's $20,000. And whether someone else could do it for 19 or 21 or 17, we want to see this technology, and it gets it done this year. And you have 24 RFPs issued by this corporation this year, and we'd like to sole source once. And that works out to 4%, 1 on 25. And for those reasons, this is our best foot forward. In principle, we completely agree with this line of questioning. And generally speaking, I hope we demonstrate that through our actions. But in this instance, it gets it done. We're not asking for new monies, and it gets it done this year. And we'll also see whether this is a good fit for us in the future. And if it doesn't work, or if it doesn't work to our satisfaction, I guarantee you we'll be grinding in the spring and not asking for money.
So thank you for that. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in on this. And, you know, I see a gentleman walk up Hay Street quite often, and he's got a long white stick, and he's got a little wheel on it. And he relies on that stick to find out where all the humps are, and he is legally blind. And I know he's often put in complaints to the town about walkability and whatever. And for the sake of $20,000 in sole source, I'd like to make it a little easier for those people who are disadvantaged to walk on our sidewalks. We like to boast that we're a walkable community, but you know, for 2 years we've neglected this, not on purpose or whatever, but for $20,000, I'd say let's get her done. And I am in full support of sole source on this. It's 20,000. It's not 200,000. So that's my 2 cents. Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I am in agreement with the contract as well. When you look at proprietary interests in proprietary processes, you're going to find you're probably not going to get a meaningful comparison to that because nobody else does it. And $20,000 in case of safety and accessibility, this is a huge accessibility issue, and I think for $20,000 we'd be very wise to do it. And I applaud the staff for coming up with a unique way of approaching a difficult problem and making sure that it gets done.
Any other comments, Councillor Kerr?
Yeah, just one as a last follow-up. I'm in support of the $20,000. I don't have an issue with that. I just hope that in the future that, and it's not decrying to anybody, but if we've got things that we're falling 2 years behind, it would behoove us to know maybe a year behind is one thing, but the minute you start to move into 2 now, just to update us, to let us know that there's some things that need to be caught up for you, and that's all. It's just helps everybody rather than looking late to the game.
Yeah.
We've thought about it a little earlier. That's all.
And the year is pressing on. You know, we're in this September now. For us to go through an RFP and whatever, to the CAO's point, we would probably be looking at doing the work next year in the spring. So this gets it done now. So I will fully support this. Councillor Eckert.
I appreciate Councillor Hildebrandt's comments on sole sourcing. I support many of those. In this case, however, it is a relatively small amount of money compared to others that we spend. And my concern would be that if we have, did you say 200 places that need repairing?
Yes.
What's the cost of people falling down and being injured when we knew there were these places out there and we didn't do anything about them for 2 years? So again, with Council Kerr, don't let us go 2 years before we find this out again. But in this case, I would be supporting the sole sourcing on this.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments? Counselor Niznik.
Yes, so thank you. Just one question and clarification. So this work, if approved today, would happen within the next month or two?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, yes, we would schedule that for this fall.
Thank you. So we will put it to the vote. So all those in favor of the report? That's 5 of us. Opposed? Councillor Hildebrand, so that carries 5-1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So now moving to item 17.2.3, Planning Services Agreement with the Region of Niagara. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Eckhart. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2023-0196, Planning Services Agreement with the Region of Niagara for information, and that Council approve the Planning Services Agreement with the Region of Niagara, and the clerk be directed to sign the agreement on behalf of the town.
Councillor Olson, any comments?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through to the Director. I do have a couple of questions about this agreement. I'm very pleased with the rate of $85 an hour. Is a pretty favorable rate, I think, for the services that we're asking for. I just want to be sure that the first place our planners are successful because of the local knowledge and relationships they have with people in the community, and I'm concerned that we would have somebody who works remotely at the region and may not be as close to the people and the problems as we'd like to have them. And I'm also in favor of driving the decision points on planning into the town itself. So, do we have any reassurance that the type of person that we would have when assigned to us for our planning purposes?
Director?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you. Certainly, the region does have a number of planners on staff, and currently their practice is to assign a planner to 3 municipalities. And so we have one that does work for certainly on behalf of the region, but provides comments and inputs on applications on behalf of the region for the town of Pelham. And so it would be that individual that gets assigned to us. That individual would be able to work here at a town hall as well and be able to interact directly with the community, but also with town staff, and work collaboratively with town staff to put forward town positions on whether they're development applications or, even responding to inquiries and questions and those types of things. So the intent is that individual that would be assigned to us would be working on behalf of the town versus on behalf of the region, and so that they would have certainly the full knowledge and understanding of, town's issues, the concerns of the community, and we'll certainly be working together with existing town staff in terms of developing positions. So I think it's a win for us in terms of a way to obtain additional planning resources without a direct hit on the town's budget.
So thank you for that. We had conversation yesterday about the 3 communities, and do you want to expand on which 3 communities and how much support we would end up getting?
Yeah, so certainly the region has 4 development planners, for example, and those 4 development planners each have 3 municipalities that they're responsible for. And so here in Pelham, the development planner that works with us also provides input on in Waynfleet and in St. Catharines. And so, you know, they are going to be available to us and to assist us. The larger municipalities like St. Catharines, you may think, oh, but they're bigger, they're going to be much more demanding of these regional resources. What I can also advise is those municipalities like St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, and Welland, for example, they are, you know, better able to absorb these additional responsibilities that are coming to them with their existing staff because they have larger staff complements. And so the way the agreement has been tailored is that each municipality will only utilize the services of the region for the types of services that they need. And so if St. Catharines doesn't need those services, then they're not going to be contracting that work out, or Niagara Falls or Welland, for example. So I think it really is very helpful to certainly the town of Pelham and to a number of the other smaller communities here in the Niagara region in terms of being able to provide planning services and, you know, these additional responsibilities that are going to be downloaded onto us without needing to retain additional planning resources through our own staff.
Thank you.
So I've got some other comments, but I think the CAO might be better off saying some comments around this, so.
As a start, you know, it's been a lot of years since I've had as many compliments on any one file as this one, and from directors of planning at other municipalities, from CAOs at other municipalities, and from regional staff, specifically about the work done by Director Weens and Ms. Sturton. Understand that this document was the work of a lot of minds, but the 2 humans who did the most work in all of Niagara on this document are sitting over there. For the whole region, for 500,000 people, it was Pelham staff who contributed the most to this document, and they're both there. And so it's a really well-drafted, well-thought thing, but it was crafted from the position of people who knew we were going to have to share the resources, share the human beings, and to find something that would absolutely work for us, and then by definition will work for the other smaller municipalities. And I just want to, like, I on no file have I taken as many compliments as this one for those 2 people. So hats off to both of you. Also, you know, I spent more than 5 years working in Lambton County, and that's a 2-tier system as well. And there I was working for the upper tier, and they did, Lambton County has planning staff who go and spend a couple days a week at each of the different lower tiers, local municipalities, and it works exceptionally well. Now, you need the right people to have the right frame of mind, but as a model, it allows those staff to see how stuff's happening in neighboring jurisdictions, which helps us deal with the, well, they let me do that in Lincoln kind of complaints, which I'm sure everyone here has heard, or they let me do that in Wayne, or whatever that is. So it's actually a really effective way to ensure some consistency. I can tell you I've seen firsthand in another part of Ontario this work exceptionally well. So I have every reason to think that this will be successful. And I know it's been drafted in a way that's tailored to, it's meant to work for everyone, but it most certainly works for something the size of Pelham.
So any other questions? So on behalf of council, I would like to reiterate Mr. Cribb's comments to Ms. Sturton and Ms. Weens, and thank you for your exceptional efforts bringing this forward and working on behalf of the common good of our region, and you know, great work. Thank you. So based on that, we'll put this to the vote. All those in favor of the report? Again, that is unanimous, so that's carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now turning to item 17.2.4, I have a motion moved by Councillor Eckhart and seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2023-186, recommendation report, application for zoning bylaw amendment -1039 Church Street for information, and the council directs planning staff to prepare the necessary zoning bylaw amendment for council's consideration at the next regular meeting of council. To you for discussion.
So any comments from councilors? Councillor Olson.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I notice here that, that the developer is now considering an elevator. I don't think he's finally confirmed that, but an elevator for a 3-story building. I've talked to an awful lot of people who looked at that and said, this is exactly the type of housing that we need in Pelham for downsizing people. And there were people in the audience that night who said that they were grateful we were asking for an elevator because they would consider moving in there because it was a perfect spot for that. And I also saw that they've got another assigned handicap parking spot. Plus, I'm pretty happy with the rainwater, stormwater collection underneath the parking lot. So I think this is going to be quite an attractive addition to the housing stock, and I applaud of course the planners and the developer for considering these things, because I think they're important to us. Accessibility has to come first, and if you can only be accessible on the first floor, that's probably not a good thing. So I'll be voting in favor of it.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments with respect to this file? Okay, so we'll put it to the vote. All those in favor of this report? Again, that is unanimous and carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving to item 17.2.5, I have a motion moved by Councillor Hildebrand and seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2023-203, recommendation report, application for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment, 550 Weber Road for information, and that Council directs planning staff to prepare the necessary zoning bylaw amendment for Council's consideration at the next regular meeting of Council. To you for discussion.
Okay, again, any comments with respect to this report and recommendation? Seeing none, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favor? Again, unanimous and carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving now to item 17.2.6, I have a motion moved by Councillor Kerr and seconded by Councillor Eckhart. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2023-0188, Council vacancy policy for information, and that Council adopt the attached Council vacancy policy to be utilized in the event of a vacancy occurring on Council, whereby Council would fill vacancies by appointment when applicable pursuant to the policy. To you for discussion.
So anyone have comments with respect to this? I think in the report, it said that the last vacancies, for the last number of vacancies that we went to a by-election, that happened in the term of last council. But I believe in the last 3 councils prior to that, there was 3 vacancies, all in Ward 1, and they were all assigned to the person who came in third in each of those elections. So ended up being the same person third 3 times, but he got on council 3 times. So, you know, it's a very costly venture to do a by-election, and consideration around the tabulators. It's we've got to be prepared for vacancies and whatever. You never know what's going to happen. So any comments or questions? Councillor Olson.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll be voting against this, absolutely. my story on council is I was the last one who was elected in a by-election. And the key things in that area, the campaign was I had a very good campaign team, and I had a very effective sign campaign, and also the fact that people were in Ward 1 would not vote for anybody from Ward 2 and 3. That was pretty much the conclusion. And the two top candidates were myself and another resident of Fenwick. So for us, it probably wouldn't work that well for Ward 1 because just for that simple reason that there's a bit of a feeling that an election from 2 and 3 would just not work to be picking out the Ward 1 representative. The other thing I will tell you is that I applied for many of the advisory committee things or membership in them and I was turned down consistently. And I finally got on the age advisory committee, and I think that was just as more or less as a consolation prize for me. So if I was asked to be elected and considered for election, I probably wouldn't be here. And I don't think, and I think there's a huge value in incumbency. And I don't think that if we're appointing somebody, we have to do it fairly carefully because, we don't really know, and we don't really, have an idea of, especially about a new person who may not be coming forward. And we should be expanding our democratic options in this town. And our clerks did a great job on the last election. In fact, they won an award along with 3 other communities. So they know how to run an election, and they've been justifiably lauded for their attempts at more democracy. So for me, there is no substitution in general for a general election to fill a seat. Now, of course, that at a certain point in that the dollars and cents take over, and if there's 6 months to go in a term or something like that, or a year that we can select, then we could probably go to some other form of selection. But I really don't think there's a democratic substitution for an election.
Okay, thank you for those comments, Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I will be supporting the motion. I understand what it takes to run an election. I participated not as a councillor, but before I got on council, I was involved with the government with running provincial, federal, and municipal elections. I did that just as trying to see how different systems work. And I know how costly they are and how difficult they are. And I think council, if they did adopt the policy, would be very careful on assigning a person. So yes, I will be supporting the policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kerr.
As with Councillor Hildebrand, I'll support it, taking into account economics, timeframes prior to a next election, length to the amount of time from declaring an election be started till the election's complete, and all the economics and everything else that go along with it. I think that the council members sitting around here are responsible enough to make good decisions, and that they would weigh everything in all due course and not bypass democracy just for the sake of expediency. I think it's going to be made with very measured thought and decision-making on everybody's part. So I will support it in its current form.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Niznik.
Hi, thank you very much. Yes, so just I too will be supporting this motion. I think the policy as it's written allows for a lot of flexibility, and I think all the issues that have been raised with regards to time, economics, people involved, democracy, I think it covers all of it succinctly. So, we have some options. We can appoint somebody who's a member of council if needed in terms of the mayor. If nobody wants that, then they've got a next step. And then if that doesn't work, they have a next step. And the same goes for filling a council seat. Right down to section 9 that says a by-election can occur. So I will be supporting it because I think it gives us enough flexibility and enough options that to go through the process would make sense, depending on when the issue occurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Eckert.
I will as well be supporting this policy. When I started to read it, I had some reservations around certain areas, and I believe that it covered all of those satisfactorily to me, such as the time in the term of office where we were, the fact if there was incumbents or acclaimed and there was nobody that came third, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it covered everything that I was concerned about, so I would be in support of this policy.
Yes. Thank you, Councillor. So just to address Councillor Olson's concern, and I'm not trying to change your mind on this, Councillor Olson, but the 3 terms prior to the last term, the person that was put in as ward councillor came from Fenwick. So there was that recognition in mind that we want, if someone from a ward vacates, we want to fill that ward with someone from that particular area. So that's just a comment. So I too will be supporting this policy. It's been well thought out and gives us lots of options to move forward in the case of a vacancy. So I appreciate the work that staff did on this. So at this point, we'll put it to the vote. So all those in favor? 5 in favor. All those opposed? Councillor Olson. So that carries 5-1.
So thank you. Moving now to bylaw presentations and consideration. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Kerr and seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaw, do now read a first, second, and third time and do pass same, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaw 48-2023 being a bylaw to regulate signs in the town of Pelham, and to repeal bylaw number 4199 2020. 2, bylaw 49-2023 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 29-2023 confirming various appointments to advisory committees of the town of Pelham for the 2022-2026 term of council, and to appoint members to the Pelham Active Transportation Committee.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep. Okay, any comments with respect to those bylaws? Seeing none, let's put it to the vote. All in favor? That's unanimous, and that is carried.
Now moving to item number 21.1, we have a notice of motion moved by Councillor Deputy Mayor Wink, seconded by Councillor Eckhart, whereas the council for the town of Pelham is committed to the safety of the community, and whereas council for the town of Pelham is concerned that the narrow roadways, hidden driveways, reduced visibility due to hills and speed of vehicular traffic on Hay Street has the capacity to create a potential safety hazard to walkers, cyclists, and children, and whereas the council for the town of Pelham desires to mitigate this potential hazard by regulating the speed of vehicular traffic on Hay Street, particularly north of Brewerton Boulevard, and to consider various potential traffic calming methods for this purpose. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the council for the town of Pelham directs staff to investigate the installation of speed signage and a possible speed reduction from 50 kilometers an hour to 40 kilometers an hour with flashing lights to regulate and reduce the speed of traffic on Hay Street, particularly between Brewerton Boulevard and Metler Road, and that council directs staff to report back by October 18th, 2023 on these suggestions. to you for discussion.
Okay, so I'll make some comments since it is my motion. So it's been brought to my attention and really it was one of those things that's always been in the back of my mind when I drive down that piece of road. It is very narrow. There's no room for sidewalks because of the Lathrop property and whatever. It is deemed rural. And I've encountered numerous people walking, numerous people biking. And I'm afraid when I'm driving down that piece of road because I'm afraid I'm going to hit someone. And I ensure that I go slow, but I'm probably not the norm. There's lots of people that walk first thing in the morning. Well, now if you've got 3 ladies that are walking out at 6:30 in the morning, they're very difficult to see. There's roughly 15 kids in that little area that get picked up by school buses. And, there's a concern for stop buses, for kids crossing roads and all the like. And because it's rural, they don't have the luxury of sidewalks and bike lanes and whatever. And I think it's time that we have a look at it. I'm not suggesting a traffic study because a traffic study is not going to tell us anything that we don't know about this stretch of road. It's lots of blind spots. There's a lot of hills up and down. And I even encounter people at the end of Lookout Golf Course where there's blind spots and all of a sudden, there's someone walking the road. So just want to make that area more safe than what it currently is. So that's the reason why I put forward the motion. Councillor Eckert?
I support the motion. I have personal observations on 11, 12, 13, and 14 on Lookout Point Golf Course. One year we actually had a car on the 11th tee crash through the fence, and that was directly from speed.
So we're doing this for your personal safety?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I do see the people walking and biking on there constantly, Metler Road. Many people are using that to avoid the hill on Effingham. And actually the traffic kind of increases down there during the winter months because people do, traveling back and forth to St. Catharines, et cetera, avoid the Effingham Hill, even though our roads department do a great job of hitting that hill first thing in the morning all the time. So anything we can do to make that road more safe, I would be in support of.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. I cycle down that hill a lot. I'm shocked by the number of people that walk in tandems and triples up and down that hill. I cannot fathom that being a safe place to walk. I'm not sure where they're all coming from. Maybe from the golf course. Maybe they're leaving the golf course, but I don't. It is surprising. So yeah, I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Niznik?
Yeah, so thank you. I really have mixed emotions about this. So I grew up around the corner from this road, and it's always been a road that you just don't walk on. It's not a safe road to walk on, and why you choose to walk on it is beyond me. I would even rarely cycle on that road for that very reason. Like, I applaud people out moving and being active and that sort of thing, but you also have to take some responsibility for your own safety when you're on these roads. And that is not one of our safe roads, just because of the way it's built with the hill and the hills on the sides of it. And I don't think a sign is going to make a difference. I don't think a going down to 40 kilometers an hour sign is going to make a difference. I don't think a speed sign, caution to drivers is going to make a difference. And I just don't know what the volume of traffic on that road is. Maybe it has changed since I've moved away from that area. I don't know, but I think we have other areas in town that have much higher traffic volumes, much more concerns with regards to pedestrian crossing and walking and safety that I think our town staff should be putting their efforts towards. So that's my opinion on that one.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Eckert?
Just to reinforce what Councillor Niznik is talking about, I agree that there are areas in town, and that is one of the reasons why the Pelham Active Transportation Committee is looking at reducing the speed in town to 40 kilometers per hour. But this is a step that we could look at on this road in particular doing now, as opposed to the broader area. So that's why I'm supporting it.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr?
It's interesting to listen to this, only having been a kid and figured out that was usually one of the quick ways to get around traffic was to fire down because that was all the back roads for me. So I know it far too long. I agree with you. It's an unsafe stretch. People should not be walking there. It's a challenge, but people can walk where they want to walk, and they're going to be on that road. So, you know, we can't. You can't give people common sense sometimes. They think it's good and they think everyone can see them. They don't realize it. I had an opportunity while I've been traveling in Nova Scotia actually to see a number of what I will call speed and safety mitigation practices that I think I'm going to show the Director of Public Works and others that I thought were rather interesting. The funniest one was, though, they have a digitized speed sign, and if you exceed the speed limit, it comes up with a big frown in red. It doesn't show you your speed. It just, you're going too fast, and it's a frowning face. But it caught your attention right away, and you knew right away that that's what you were supposed to do, was to slow down. So there are options. I'm in support of this. I mean, it's something worth investigating. And then from this, we can layer from this, and I think following Councillor Niznik's comments, there are other parts of the town, if we can see responses and find the best practices forward, then we kind of come up with a template that we can reapply elsewhere. And as Councillor Eckert brought up, trying to get the town down to 40K, lots of communities are looking at that across the province. The challenge is always enforcement, which is the next layer. And finding out a speeding bus the other day, a school bus got nailed for 70 in a 50K zone, I thought was particularly humorous to see, thinking about it. But I would say let's go forward with this motion.
Yeah. Thank you. So at this point, all that we're doing is asking for a staff report. And I guess my comment would be, and I always look at staff timeframes. We've got October 18th on here. Is that doable?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, so listen to the conversation. If the expectation is a report back on some different signage that we could put in place, then obviously that can come by October 18th. If there's more in-depth analysis required by council with respect to volumes of traffic on that road and any speed type of studies, then we would definitely need more time.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think we know that there's speeds there. We know that there's going to be a traffic study and it's going to say, well, there's not X number of vehicles going down this road, so we're not going to do anything about it. We don't need to know that at this point. You know, it's a dangerous stretch of road, and all that we're asking for is what are some things that we can do to make it a little safer. You know, I'm not asking for anything out of the ordinary, so.
Could we have until November?
November 1?
I don't know what the council.
Second meeting, let's say the second meeting in November? Or do you want the first meeting?
Let's get her done. I'll give you a little bit of a stretch. I think that is November 1, isn't it? So first meeting in November. We'll give you a bit of a break.
I thought you were making a joke. Yeah. Okay, November 1 then. Sure.
Yeah. I know, I'm flying out on November 4th.
So you do, okay, there we are. Out November 1.
Yeah, okay. Great, so all those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? So that's 5-1, and that's carried. Thank you.
Moving now to item number 22, the confirming bylaw. I have a motion moved by Councillor Niznik and seconded by Councillor Eckhart. Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, being a bylaw number 50, 2023, to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of council for the town of Pelham at its regular meeting held on the 6th day of September 2023.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? Again, unanimous, so carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just before we adjourn, I just wanted to thank council for their patience. For some of you today, it might have seemed like this is my introduction to English as a written language, and I apologize for some stuttering and stumbling. I'm going to blame it on my new prescription, and hopefully be used to it by the next meeting. So we have a motion moved by Councillor Olson, second by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that the regular meeting of council be adjourned until the next regular meeting is scheduled for September 20th, 2023 at 9 a.m.
Okay, so it is 12:41 and this meeting is adjourned.
Well done, Deputy Mayor.